Hello friends, today we will be talking about the morphological features of the phylum Brachiopoda. Superficially, the brachiopods resemble the bivalves, as you can see here. Anyone can say that this particular specimen, presently I am holding the specimen of the Terebratula, which is a brachiopod, but the question comes why the brachiopod should be separated into a different phylum and should not be coalesced with the phylum Mollusca. This may be because of two very principal reasons. The first is the composition of the shell. The mollusks by and large, they are made up of the calcareous skeleton, whereas the skeleton composition of the brachiopods is calcium phosphate. The second aspect by which the brachiopods should be treated as of different phyla is the biological orientation. For example, in this, as you can see that this is one valve and this is the other. Naturally, this is the bigger valve and this is the smaller valve. The bigger valve contains a kind of a circular foramen. This is what I observe. One should observe these things, whether the valves I am holding, the two valves I am holding, they are equal or not, and if they are unequal, which of the two holds the foramen. So, I am holding the specimen with the two valves. This is one valve, this is the other valve. This one is bigger and this is smaller, it ends here. So, the bigger valve, it is called as the pedicle valve, and the smaller valve is called as branchial valve. The pedicle valve holds this foramen and this foramen is called as pedicle opening. I suggest you to be prepared with a paper and a pencil or a pen, so that you can note down the features which we are observing and discussing in the foregoing session. As you see that I told you that these are two dissimilar valves. One is always, most of the time, if not every time, is bigger than the other. The one which is bigger is called as pedicle valve and the one which is smaller is called as branchial valve, and pedicle valve is the ventral valve. That means, this is the ventral side of the specimen of the animal. This happens to be the dorsal side, and that means one valve is the dorsal valve and the other valve is the ventral valve. This one, the bigger one, is a ventral valve, the smaller is the dorsal valve. Now, then comes the anterior and posterior. This portion is anterior and this one is the posterior. The hinge line in the lamellibranchs, in the previous lecture we have discussed about the morphology of the lamellibranchs. In the lamellibranchs, the hinge is always on the dorsal side, which is not the case with the brachiopods. So, because of this changed ornamentation, there you have the right and left valve in the lamellibranch. Here we have dorsal and ventral valves. So, based on the two very primary traits, one is the composition of the shell and the second is the biological orientation by which this particular group of organisms have been placed in a separate phyla, that is the phylum Brachiopoda. I hope you understood why the brachiopod should be treated as a different phylum compared to the lamellibranchs. Now, we will be discussing the features to be noted down by a paleontologist one by one. The first thing is the form of shell. In the form of shell, we will be discussing the shape, size and symmetry, 3S. One S for the shape, other S for the size, and the third S is for the symmetry. As far as the size is concerned, as I always tell you in this lecture series, that the size is always a relative term. It is not an absolute term. Size can be larger, intermediate and smaller. Like you see, this is little larger specimen whereas this is little intermediate. And if you get the specimens of the brachiopods like this is said to be relatively smaller. So, this is about the size. We will be discussing about the shape. Shape can be many, like here you see this particular fossil of the brachiopod, which is called as Lingula. It is teardrop shaped. Teardrop, that means drop of a tear. It is a drop shaped brachiopod. This is almost rounded. This is semilunar or semicircular. This one is little globular. This is about the shape. Shape is a geometrical feature. You can describe the shape as per your own geometrical understanding. Then comes the symmetry. In the symmetry, you can have here, the symmetry means, like for example, if you see this wall, you can very well say that this is a convex surface on this side, on the dorsal side. On the ventral side also you have the convex surface. So, this particular form is biconvex, to be very frank. In your school days also you would have heard this term biconvex, plano-convex, concavo-convex. So, this particular form of Pteridratula is the biconvex form. If you say this portion is concave and this portion is convex, so this is concavo-convex form. Productus is also concavo-convex, but unfortunately because this is a fossil, so we do not have the other parts to show you. Here also you have both the walls as convex, so it is also a kind of biconvex. So, you can describe the symmetry of the brachiopods in terms of being biconvex, in terms of being the plano-convex. Unfortunately, we do not have the plano-convex form. So, you can have plano-convex, biconvex, even concavo-convex forms. After the form of the shell, we will come to the hinge line. Hinge line is the line along which the walls articulate. As you would see that most of the shells of the brachiopods, they have both the walls joined. Here also you see both the walls joined. This one is half concealed in the sediment, so I am not able to show you the exact form of the shell. This is because of the divaricator muscle, which holds both the walls so tightly that even after the death of the organism, the walls don't become disarticulated. And then comes the, for a paleontologist, as far as the feature to be noted down is concerned, you have a line along which both the walls they articulate, and this line is called as hinge line. Exactly, it carries the same meaning as the hinge line of the lamellibranch. So, hinge line can be straight, the hinge line can be curved. So, these are the only two features which you have to mention and which you have to observe. As in this form, which is called as spirifer, only half of the line is visible, the other part is concealed into the sediments. The line is exclusively straight. So, here the hinge line is termed as a straight hinge line, whereas in this form, which I have shown you even earlier also, this is the line along which this bigger and this smaller walls meet. So, this line is not straight, it is curved. So, you have the curved hinge line and you have the straight hinge line as well. After describing the form of the shell, shape, size, symmetry and the geometry of the hinge line as curved and straight, the next part which you can describe about the brachiopod is the individual valves. First we will be discussing about the pedicle valve and then about the branchial valve. The pedicle valve is, as I told you, it is the ventral valve. Most of the time the pedicle valve is slightly bigger than the branchial valve, and like here you can see in the pedicle valve you can describe three things. The first thing is its size, that is, the size is always bigger than the branchial valve. There is one form in which the branchial and the pedicle valves are almost equal in size. This is Atripa. In Atripa, this is a small specimen of the Atripa. As you can see, this valve is having the pedicle opening. So, this is the pedicle valve or the ventral valve having a sulcus, and this is smaller or the branchial valve. But in this form, you are not in a position to differentiate or decide whether this one is bigger or this one is bigger. So, Atripa is an exceptionally exclusive form in which the pedicle and the branchial valves are equal in size. Hence, in Atripa, the branchial and the pedicle valves both are equal in size, whereas in other forms the pedicle valve is slightly larger compared to the branchial valve. And pedicle valve also has the aperture which is called as foramen or the pedicle opening. This pedicle opening can be circular as in Terebratula, sometimes it is also triangular. In many forms you do not see this clearly visible. So, you have to describe the shape of the aperture as circular as in Terebratula, sometimes it is triangular. The other part which you have to discuss about the pedicle valve is the shape. Like for example, here the pedicle valve is characterized by a sulcus. Here the pedicle valve is simply plain convex. Here you see the pedicle valve with the foramen is described by the sulcus. So, pedicle valve is larger or equal to the branchial valve. What is the shape of the foramen or the pedicle opening, and whether the pedicle valve is having some special sulcus present on its surface or not. Then comes the branchial valve. Branchial valve most of the time is smaller, relatively smaller than the pedicle valve, and it may be characterized by the presence of a lobe, or it may be simply a convex form. It is equal in size of the pedicle valve only in the form which is Atripa. In other forms it is always smaller. The branchial valve is always the dorsal valve, where the two valves join along the anterior margin. The two valves, they join along the anterior margin. The shape of this margin is also a feature to be observed, very special feature. In some of the forms, the line along which the join, it is called as the line of commissure. So, this line of commissure, it is simple without any special feature. Here in Terebratula, the line of commissure is with the sulcus here in Syringothyris. You can see this is the line along which these two pieces of the shell join. So, this line is having the lobes and the sulcus. Sometimes you can have the interdigitations, as you can see the zigzag line. So, line of commissure is zigzag in case of the Rhynchonella or Rhynchotrema, you see here. So, the line of commissure can be simple. The line of commissure can have the sulcus with lobes, and the line of commissure can be having even zigzag forms. Then comes the special feature, any special ornamentation which you have observed into the brachiopod. Like for example, you have the radial ribs into spirifer, you have very well pronounced distinct sulcus and lobe. You can have simple biconvex shell with the larger pedicle valve and the smaller branchial valve. The simplest one is the lingula. Lingula is also characterized by the presence of a pointed umbo, that means it does not has the well pronounced hinge line, because of which this shell is said to be simpler. Then comes the Productus. This is an index fossil of the Carboniferous Permian time. This is a concavo-convex form. The convex portion is having a deep sulcus, the hinge line is straight. Sometimes you can have very pronounced radial ribs and the line of commissure can be zigzag. So, these are some special features which you can note down. After having these morphological traits like form of the shell with shape, size and symmetry, the nature of the hinge line as curved and straight, then the shape of the pedicle valve with the pedicle opening and some special features, and its relative size with respect to the dorsal branchial valve, the shape and the form of the line of commissure or the anterior margin, and some special features you can identify a particular brachiopod. As far as the age is concerned, Atripa, this one is Atripa, it ranges from Ordovician to Devonian. This is Terebratula, this ranges in age from Upper Jurassic to recent. Then comes this Spirifer, this ranges in age from Silurian to Permian. You can have the good index fossils also like Productus from Carboniferous to Permian. So, these are the morphological features of the brachiopods to be observed by a paleontologist. It is very simple. Try to identify a brachiopod yourself and try to differentiate this from the lamellibranch. Remember that the brachiopods, they belong to a different phyla based on the shell composition, that is, they have calcium phosphate shell, the mollusks they have calcareous shell. The biological ornamentation is also different in mollusks and in brachiopods. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture, and we will be discussing about the morphological features of the other paleontological groups as well in the lectures to come. Till then, thank you very much.